Okay, so this is the very first verse of Vayikra. Vayikra el Moshe, Vaydeber, Yod-Heh Waw-Heh, Allow Mehel Moed Lemon. And he called to Moshe and he spoke, and the Lord spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying. So, really, really wonderful gematria, but this is the regular gematria, 1455. The ordinary is 321. We're going to be looking at both those numbers eventually. Together they come to 1776, which is 2 times 888. So straight away we've got a reference to Moshiach. Moshiach, 888. This is Moshiach spelt out, each letter as it sounds. Okay, it's what's called a filling. So we've got, this is how it's written in the Torah, and I've pointed this out in previous lessons, but as you can see, the letter Aleph is diminished, and there's all kinds of reasons which suggest why it's diminished, and it's to do with the humility of Moshe. Moshe humbled himself. However, it also indicates the state of Mashiach in exile. How is diminished, and the truth about him is not fully revealed. We have inherited lies, and it's for us to find the truth regarding the concept of Mashiach. And obviously Moshe is the first primary concept of the Mashiach. Okay, so this word Vayikra will eventually become Vayikra with an Aleph Gadon, and I've gone over this teaching many times, but I have actually added a couple of things to it this time. So Vayikra will eventually become Vayikra with an Aleph Gadon. So that means that the Aleph can be, it's the first Aleph, it's the first number of the Aleph bet, so its gematria is 1, but it's also got a gematria of 1,000, because Aleph does mean 1,000. The word Aleph means 1,000. So eventually this little tiny diminished Aleph will become the Aleph Gadon. Moshe's called the Aleph Gadon, and basically it's a coded message for the Moshiach. So it's a concept of Mashiach ben David added to Mashiach ben Yosef. I go through this all the time, every lesson, come across the number 1,000, because it's Mashiach ben David 434 added to Mashiach ben Yosef 566, which comes to 1,000. So ultimately, when this becomes 1,000, this first part is 316, so it will become 1,316. Okay, and we've got there the 1,000 is Mashiach ben David plus Mashiach ben Yosef. So the 316 of Vayikra is the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, diminished and suffering with us in exile. So this is the third stage, the Aviv, if you like, isn't it? Okay, and we want to get, no, that's the milky stage. This is the Aviv stage, and this is the full maturity, isn't it? We want to get there if we can. So Mashiach ben David plus Mashiach ben Yosef plus the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef suffering with us in exile, the concept of Yeshu, which from a Torah point of view, not from a rabbinical Judaism point of view, because that is concealed with lies, Agadic lies, Gadic tales in the Talmud that are misinterpreted. Okay, 1,316 comes 2 times 658, very significant number. Why? Because the luminaries, which are synonymous with Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, the concept of the Mashiach comes to, is written in the Torah without these 2 vavs. They're actually missing. It's what's called a defective spelling. We come across that laws. If it was written rectified with the 2 missing vavs that represent the truth about Mashiach ben David, the truth about Mashiach ben Yosef, so that this concept of Mashiach is not diminished, okay, in exile, but we've got the truth, which it says in the Tehillim, the truth sprouts from the earth, okay, from the land, and we're talking about the barley harvest. The barley harvest alone should reveal to us the truth, and everything that points to, the concept of the new moon, the concept of spring and the Pesach, and all the things that I've talked about. The truth should sprout from the earth. Literally, the barley harvest reveals the truth about Mashiach ben Yosef. And the concept of Moshiach, the whole counting of the Homer and the whole first fruit offerings, everything of that is indicating to us the concept of Mashiach, the luminaries that ultimately must be rectified with the truth, because we've got diminished concepts of Mashiach, because we've inherited the doctrines found within the religions of our birth, or the religions that we've converted to, and these contain errors. We've all got a work to do to sort the light truth from the lie. So luminary is 658 plus 73 is 731. Moshiach plus Yeshua, 731. They are the luminaries that must be united together as one in order to reveal the truth. This is part of the stage of maturity, isn't it? That was the fourth stage of maturity. Once we've established the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef and seen that come fully developed, the wheres and the wherefore, the what's and the who's, and the answer all the questions regarding Mashiach ben Yosef, basically, we then reach the next level of maturity where we're understanding that Yeshua has come instead of Yitzchak, and this unity between Moshe and Yeshua erases the darkness that is inherent within Yitzchak, that is revealed in the Torah of Moshe, the harsh judgments, etc., and the darkness that must be brought an end to. Okay? And it's only when you unite those two together that is accomplished, and it's only when you unite those together can you reach that place of maturity where Ham Oroth become fully rectified and revealed. This is connected to this concept, Nikmath Dam. A lot of blood has been shed through not understanding the concept of Mashiach, because it's led to a lot of lies that create separation. Like from the Christians, they have killed a lot of Jews in the name of Yeshua because of their misunderstanding of who Yeshua was. The Jews have created a lot of separation and hatred towards the Christians because they're ignorant, based on the lies that they've inherited regarding Yeshua and regarding the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, and they've got a work to do regards that. The Muslims too have spilt a lot of blood because they perceive that they've got the ultimate truth, and they have got within their teachings a lot to say about who and what Yeshua is, etc. Some of it's the truth, some of it's lies, and the lies cause blood to be spilt. The servants' blood of the servants of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh is their blood to be spilled. That will need to be revenged, and I've said this, I say it a lot. The only sufficient way to avenge that blood is through a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, because only when we have the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh revealed through the concept of Mashiach can we stop. Will we unite as one, and we will stop killing each other based on our false understanding of Mashiach. That's what kills. That's what causes death and destruction. So we've got to revenge that blood, and the only sufficient way is through a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. That comes through a revelation of Mashiach, the Mashiach of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. And as we can see, that's linked up there again. So we'll just this bit up here. He made an end to darkness. He made an end to darkness. What darkness? The darkness that is found within the Torah of Moshe that leads to death and destruction and harsh punishment and exile. That needs washing clean with the Torah of Moshe, Torah of Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay? And also the truth. So we've got two vavs missing. Emeth is missing, truth, and Wehemeth, which is one of the Wehemeth is one of the 13 attributes of mercy. Truth is the attribute of mercy revealed within the truth is a right. Let me say this properly. So there's two lots of 13 attributes of mercy. There's the one revealed within the letter of the Torah that was revealed to Moshe when he was put in the cleft of the rock. There's the 13 attributes of mercy as listed in the book of Micah. Both of them have a concept of the name, one of the 13 attributes of mercy being linked to truth. One of them is give truth to Yaakov. Okay, that's in the higher level. Give truth to Yaakov, Emeth to Yaakov. And then the other one is kindness and truth. Okay, that's to be found within the Torah of Moshe, and it's written exactly like that in the book of Exodus, Emeth and truth. If we had that 441 and 447 together, we get 888. Okay, I've decided to add a couple of verses in to highlight this for you with the 13 attributes of mercy. First of all, we've got these from Micah, which these are part of the 13 attributes of mercy as revealed in there. Titen emeth liYaakov. Give truth, emeth, and as we can see it's spelled exactly the same as emeth, truth, to Yaakov. Chesed leAvraham, loving kindness of Abraham, which you swore to our forefathers from days of yore. So these are part of the 13 attributes of mercy as revealed in the book of Exodus. And then Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh passed by and said, Adonai, Adonai, al-Rachum wa-Chanun, erech apayim wa-Rav chesed wa-Emeth. So there's some of the attributes of mercy there, look. Okay, and it continues on. So you've got wa-Emeth and truth, exactly the same there. So this is a unity between the name revealed within the 13 attributes of mercy up here, which are higher, and it puts truth before loving kindness in these, whereas loving kindness comes before truth within the 13 attributes of mercy as revealed within the book of Exodus. Okay, so these are at the letter of Keter, and this is at the, which is the tip of the Yod, which is the Yechida, which is the soul level of Mashiach ben Yosef, and this is at the letter Vav, okay, of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Okay, and we need to cleanse that with the truth, Od Yosef Chai. That is the truth that is given to Yaakov, who symbolises that letter Vav, Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. And Moshe is very, very much linked to Yaakov, you know. Okay. And then finally we've got this. However, as surely as I live and the glory of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh fills the earth. When will that happen? When we unite? When this is revealed. The blood is avenged in a good way. We've got unity of all these concepts, and finally His glory will be revealed, that everything that's happened in the entire of creation, what's happened in the Christianity, what's happened in the Edomite exile, what's happened with the Ishmaelites, the Muslim people, what's been happening with the Jewish people, and all the antagonism and all the blood spill is for an ultimate purpose, and the lies we've inherited are so that we can do a work below to reveal the truth that sprouts from the earth. You know, i.e. look at the barley that also sprouts from the earth, that reveals the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, then we see the glory of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh fills the entire earth, and there's nothing in this world that we can look at that we can point and say Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh's glory is not there, because there's no evil anymore. It's all we're looking through the eyes of the name Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, and we're seeing that everything has had a purpose, everything has had a meaning, because everything has given us a work to do in order to be co-creators to bring about that final redemption. Okay, it's all utterly and absolutely glorious. Okay, I think we're going to start and look at this number now. So obviously we're talking about highly messianic concepts, aren't we, with all this? So now let's go see how this relates to Moshe, and this is the luminary is rectified. Okay, this is the state what it should be in. But prior to that, there's a diminishment, and we know that diminishment is represented when the letter Vav is missing. Okay, because the letter Vav represents Emeth, the truth. Okay, truth about the Mashiach. So let's go and have a look how this number relates. We can see how it relates to the concept of Mashiach. So we've got these fillings of Mashiach, bearing in mind what I've just said. Let's just bring them all up so we know where we can see. So straight away we can see we've got Moshe filled like that. That's the name Moshe, or Moshe. We've got Moshe to the first filling. That comes to a regular 450. And then Moshe to the second filling, and as you can see in the letter Nun, and I've done this with all the major fillings of names, you know, like I've done one series where it's got the Nun included, like i.e. the truth, the full revelation, and I've also got it in a diminished state, because we've seen how the little Aleph represents Moshe. So this is really how it's linked to the concept of Moshe, still within exile. Moshe is within exile, within the Erev of exile, to bring all those souls trapped within there to full maturity. ultimately, but he's suffering until that time happens, and hopefully to prevent them also from falling to the 49th level of impurity. So we can see this is definitely a revelation of Moshiach to the second filling. There's all kinds of numbers. This will come back because we're going to go and have a look how spring is related to this number as well, Moshiach. And everything we've been talking about with spring, Ha'aviv is actually related to this number. We'll see that later. Okay, so we've got the fact that 1455 is clearly related to Moshe. And we've also got this here. This is all the ordinals added up. Comes to 5 times 57, which is 5 times HaMoshiach. So again, we've got that link up here because this verse comes to 2 times HaMoshiach spelt out. Okay, so this is HaMoshiach as it's just normally spelt. And so Moshe ordinally also comes to HaMoshiach. And this is us knowing that Moshe is an umbrella term for Mashiach. So we can see how significant Moshe is, and this number, especially even when it's in a diminished state, it's very significant because it's going to bring us to that point of maturation ultimately, where the barley is fully matured, and then even beyond that, the counting of the Omer that comes after that, that leads on to Shavuot, the giving of the Torah itself in full, which is a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. And we see now that's a unity between the two revelations that we have at this time in this world that need united together as one stick in order to usher in the one shepherd who is David. So we've got this number. We'll have a look at some more numbers that are based around this. So here again, it's all linked to spring, because this is the commandment from Deuteronomy: keep the month of spring. And as you can see, Shamor et Chodesh Ha'aviv. So this is talking about the month of spring, and it's called Ha'aviv. It says keep the month of Ha'aviv, the Aviv, the barley linked to the barley harvest, and make the Passover offering to the Lord your God. For in the month of Aviv, Ha'aviv, in the month of the Aviv, the barley maturity, the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt at night. Okay, so this is us entering into states of redemption. The Mispar Gadol of this, and I've talked about the Mispar Gadol number, is the Mispar Gadol numberings are connected to that exact moment where the sea splits. Okay, I've pointed this out when I've gone through the teachings of the coffin of Yosef that caused the sea to split. Like the sea saw it and fled. What did it see? It saw the coffin of Yosef. What did that coffin of Yosef? What did it really see? No, it split on account of the merits of Yosef, and we can see that projected into the situation we're in now. What's going to cause the sea to split for us to enter into final redemption? The merits of Moshiach ben Yosef, who is Yeshua. Okay, who was carrying the coffin of Yosef, Moshe. The two need to be united as one. That's what ultimately caused the sea to split. It's the unity of Moshe and Yosef together, Moshe and Yosef together. Okay, so Mispar Gadol numbering is based, it's linked back to that. And if you were interested in finding out why, then you need to go and analyse, and it's to do with the total values of the Mispar Gadol of all the books of the Torah. It's ultimately connected to that and the seesaw and fled, which indicates a unity between Moshe and Yosef. Okay, so the Mispar Gadol. All these numbers are wonderful, but we're looking at this specifically. 6,111, which is the Mispar Gadol and the Mispar Gadol ordinal, which comes to 7 times 873, which is 21 times 291. So we see that link up to Moshe, up to Vayikra, and spring. So we've got Moshe, Mashiach, spring. It's all one concept and needs to be utterly understood and united. It's part of our maturation that's essential before redemption. It says, today you are going out in the month of spring, Ha'aviv. So again, we've got Ha'aviv, and all these numbers are wonderful, honestly. I hope to do more analysis, but all these is just wonderful. That's Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, for example. But we've got, if we add them together, the regular and the ordinal, get 1,164, which is 4 times 291. So again, it's all about this concept of 291 linked right back to Wayikra. Okay, and the concept of Moshiach. And then we've got this, Shemesh, the sun. So obviously, we've got the concept of the sun. Why? Because the Aviv, this is where the solar lunar calendar comes in as well. It's not just a solar calendar, it's not just a lunar calendar, it's a combination of them both. I think I'll go and I'll show you that, because I want you to be very, very aware. There's a lot of doctrine that's luring some really wonderful Christians away that have been told that Aviv means the equinox. My own friend has been subject to this. This is why I'm so passionate about it. She's a wonderful, wonderful holy woman, and her, and along with lots of other people of the house of Yosef, true Torah keeping believers, are lured into the desert with these false doctrines regarding solar calendars and stuff like that. But the sun has a part to play. Okay, sun comes to 640, 55 ordinally. That comes to 695. The square ordinal of Shemesh is 1051. If we add them both together, this number and this number, goes to 1746, which is 2 times 873, which is 9 times 241, which links us back to this and all what we've talked about, and the spring. So the spring is determined by the sun also. Let's go and have a look. So this is what I found on Chabad.org to just show that it's a solar lunar calendar. But it's so this is within Orthodox Judaism. Okay, to just allow you to understand that it's only once in a solar calendar that the Aviv Barley matures. It's only once per solar calendar that this is that this happens. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why. But obviously then we've got to take into account the cycles of the moon, which determine what the months are. You know, the renewal of the moon determines the renewal of the month. And I've done a teaching on this, if you're not sure. 14 verses within the Tanakh and Torah and Ketuvim that indicate very clearly and explicitly that it is the moon, the Yereach, that determines the month. So there's 14, is not ambiguous at all. The months are determined by the cycle of the moon, the years by the cycle of the sun. So this is it in terms of the calendar that we have at this moment, which is predicted as a result of problems that occurred that could have meant that the calendar was no longer observed. When you think about how important it is to maintain that calendar, and the threats to Judaism at the time from external forces, and the result of the exile into which we've all been exiled, you know, there's lots of factors that caused this calendar to be predicted, so that there would be no ambiguity as to when the new moons and the years would be. However, that is not thoroughly biblical based, but it was because of the threats to them keeping the Hebrew calendar. Something had to happen, okay, and the calendar was instituted in Hillel II. So you've got to understand, we don't no longer go out into the fields to check to see if the barley has matured. And there's problems even with that, because technology now means that cycle can be advanced, and literally the Aviv is happening in February within Israel. There are observations of Aviv, this Aviv stage of the barley being occurring in February, which would, you know, there's been changes in the actual technology and that are used in order to hasten up this barley cycle. So there's all kinds of problems. So we're going on a predictive calendar. It's not based on the Aviv at the moment, but it's good to know. It's good to know everything we possibly can about the situation that's before us. Okay. Why am I looking at this? To show that the sun it plays a part in determining what the calendar is within Judaism at this time. But it always did. Like I say, the barley cycle happens once every year, once every solar year. Okay. The Torah commands us guard the month of spring and then make the Passover offering. This is a directive to the Sanhedrin Rabbinical Supreme Court to constantly adjust the calendar and ensure that Nisan, Aviv, the month of the holiday of Passover, always falls during the spring season. This is accomplished through 13-month leap years, which are added to the calendar approximately once every 3 years. They were always added. Okay, this is not something new. They were always added. Even whether it was the Aviv that determined the beginning of the month of Aviv, or whether it's this predicted calendar. During these years, the second month of Adar was added to the calendar, and we're experiencing the second of Adar this year. We're in a leap year. While the Sanhedrin presided in Jerusalem, there was no set calendar. They would evaluate every year to determine whether it would be declared a leap year. Several factors were considered in the course of their deliberations. The primary factor, which overrode all others, was the spring equinox. If the spring equinox would fall later than the first half of Nisan, so this is where I'm pointing to that even with the Aviv, there was still consideration for the sun, because obviously the spring equinox is the cycle of the sun. It's not the moon that determines the spring equinox. Okay, so if the spring equinox would fall later than the first half of Nisan, i.e. on the 16th or later, then the year was automatically declared to be a leap year. That's why I'm connecting it back to the sun. But we also know that the sun is symbolic for Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben David is symbolised by the moon. Okay. However, if it wasn't enough for Passover to fall after the equinox when it was officially spring-like conditions needed to be evidenced in the land of Israel. The barley had not yet ripened and the trees were not yet blossoming. The seasonal fruit, that too was sufficient reason to delay Nisan by adding a second month of Adar. Spring should be felt. It should be bright and green. There were also several non-seasonal related factors which the Sanhedrin considered. For example, if the roads of the bridges were in disrepair due to the winter rainy season impeding the ability of the pilgrims to travel to Jerusalem for Passover. In the 4th century CE, the sage Hillel II foresaw the disbandment of the Sanhedrin and understood that we would no longer be able to follow a Sanhedrin-based calendar. So Hillel and his rabbinical court established the Perpetual Calendar, which is followed today. This calendar is comprised of 19-year cycles, each cycle containing 7 leap years. This calendar will remain in effect until Mashiach will come and re-establish the Sanhedrin. Okay, that's taken from Chabad.org. So let's go back just to understand that the sun is definitely part of the calendar, but it's not the whole of the calendar. Okay, it's not the whole of the calendar, like what people have gone astray believing at this time. Then we've got this one, Ad Yikveh Hamelech, until the king's wine cellar. That comes to 291. 102 ordinary, which is Emunah, and then together come to 393. 393 is the regular and ordinal of Shiloh, and I've gone through that loads. If you wanted to go through that, I've done one recently, a video recently, until Shiloh comes, and that goes through the entire concept of Shiloh, and it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Okay, it's a really interesting video, and it's a really interesting concept, and it helps us build up that entire concept of Mashiach that we are being indicated to in all this. Okay, so this is taken from this verse from Zechariah 14:10, wonderful verse. The whole world shall be changed to be like a plain from the hill of Rimmon, which means pomegranate, in the south of Jerusalem, but Jerusalem will be elevated high and remain in its old place, from the gate of Benjamin to the place of the first gate until the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel until the king's wine cellar. Also, this number here is very much related to this. If you was to add a Kalel to this, a Kalel representing Aluf or Shal Alam, the Aleph, the master of the universe, it would come exactly the same to this, 1165, which is 5 times 233. What is 233? 233 is Eitz Chaim, the tree of life. The tree of life, which is the name Yod He Waw He. And we need to get that back. We need to understand what the tree of life is, the full revelation of the name Yod He Waw He, as is what we've been talking in this teaching, to get us back to the status of Gan Eden, which is that number there. So it's very much linked even to this, through this number, and then back to all that we've been talking about. And we've got this, which is extremely interesting, Yeshua Hanotzri. Okay. comes to 747. This is we're going to look at this number because you've got to understand it in context of, basically, and in unity with Mashiach, with Moshe, sorry. So 126 ordinally together come to 873. Each 873 we've seen is 3 times 291, so linked to all these. Okay, let's go and have a look at this because it's wonderful stuff. Right, so these, I'm going to go through this very quickly because I go through this a lot. These are the 5 types of Erev Rav. The Negara, this is the exile into which Moshe is exiled. Okay, you've got the 393 there, so this is the evil opposite the concept of Shiloh that I've just talked about. This is the regular spelling of the 5 Erev Rav. Okay, so this is the Mispar Gadol, the big numbering of the Erev Rav. Okay, so if we take these together, the normal, the regular and the ordinal, and then the Mispar Gadol regular and ordinal, if we add them up together, the ordinals for a start, so 401 plus the full ordinal, 346, it comes to 747. 747 is Moshe, the man of God, which comes to 747. Okay, we've got another incredible connection here, look, because, oh no, just wait a minute, where did we get that? Oh yeah, Moshe, the man of God, has got an ordinal of 117, which is exactly the same as the spelling out of Yeshua, this way, the way that it's spelled out, the ordinal of that. Contradiction, to deny the truth by asserting the opposite. So this is what the serpent manages to do, doesn't he? He manages to convince the Jews that Jesus is not Mashiach, and the Christians are convinced that Jesus is not a Jew, a Torah-keeping Jew, and lots of the concepts regarding the Mashiach ben Yosef are obscured within all the religions. By asserting the opposite, they actually do assert the opposite. So it's a contradiction, but we've got to take that contradiction and reveal the truth from that asserts the opposite. 747. I've put there 72. 72 times 4 is 288, and that's the holy lost sparks within exile that need to be redeemed by the Mashiach. And then obviously we've got this number is also Yeshua HaNotzri. Yeshua. This is what you call a Christian in Judaism. They're called Notzrim. It really comes from the root to guard. Okay, so they are guarding what? Guarding the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, but more than that, they're guarding the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh has been revealed to them at the higher level of mercy. Why did they have that revealed to them? Because they were in much greater exile and in need of it. They were in much darker, deeper exile, cut off completely and had no merit according to Torah. So they needed a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh to redeem them above the letter of the Torah, because they had no merit within the letter of the Torah. And that's indeed what they did receive. Moshe ben Amram, exactly the same. 747. Moshe, the man of God. Yeshua HaNotzri. It would appear that Yeshua contradicts Moshe and Moshe contradicts Yeshua. They do not. United together, they are the fulfillment of. They are the revelation of the entire name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh. They're not a contradiction. It's all wonderful stuff. And then we've got Yeshua filled with a Vav, and as you can see here, it's got the missing Vav from the Nun again. Okay, just as we had for Moshe, and just as we've been talking about, we have got to find the truth. We have got to find the truth. The truth sprouts from below, like I say, and it's very much like the barley. The whole cycle of the barley should point us in the right direction to receiving that truth, and then correcting this. So where do we get these numbers from then? The 479, let me find where that comes from. And that's all the ordinals added up. So 53, 118 and 308 come to 479. That's all the regulars added up. So the 386, the 523 and the 1334. That's very significant. Do you know why? Because that's a number that's associated with, and the sea sought and fled, and a number associated with all the Mispar Gadol numberings. Okay, it's linked to that. It's wonderful. It's in the teaching that I did about Joseph in his casket. So if we add those up, if we add the 479, the ordinal, and the regular up together, it comes to 2,772. 2,772 is linked up to this number up here, isn't it? So we've got the full regular of the Erev Rav, the full odd regular of the Erev Rav here, and if we add that and that together, it comes to 5,544, which is 2 times 2,772. So the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, diminished within exile, is the wholly opposite all these evil forces united. He's the wholly opposite. His suffering in his diminishment, in order to bring in the lost house of Yosef, in order to bring in that final unity between Moshe and Yeshua. So even in his diminished state, it's utterly glorious, and it's linked to him overcoming the power of the serpent, which is the lie, you know. And ultimately what tips the balance is the truth. 1,386 is Yeshua plus Mashiach ben Yosef plus Mashiach ben David. Okay, you can see how that's linked. And then we've got a link to the tree of life. We've already come across that concept, haven't we? The whole serpent is there, concealing the tree of life. Concept of the tree of life. I think it's Yosef Joshua that's opposite that. Like we've got here, look, Joshua the son of Nun, a lad would not depart from the tent. So that comes to 1,797 plus 300, which is 2,097, which is 3 times 699. So we can see a link to that up there. And it's 9 times 233. And we know that Joshua is an appellation for Mashiach ben Yosef, because the Vilna Gaon told us that. So we can see that wonderful link up there to the tree of life again. Okay, let's go back. Right, so I think we've covered all that then now, haven't we? I hope you're starting to build up a wonderful picture of exactly